Okay, what I'm going to show you right now is a process called titration. Titration involves stoichiometry and molarity, and we use it to find the concentration and molarity of unknown substances. Okay, with that, we're hoping this is a lab that you're going to be able to do when you come back. I'm going to try to fit it in because it is kind of a major thing. But let me introduce you to the gear. This is called a burette, or burette, depending on where you're at. Okay, funnel. This is actually meant to hold a specific amount of liquid. Right now, and I'll show you a picture in a second. Boom, there's your picture. There is liquid in here. It's actually up to this point. Okay. Now, normally what happens is this is where you put a liquid of an unknown concentration. Okay. And this breaks out, the numbers are milliliters. And we've got 10 tick marks between, so we can actually measure a tenth of a milliliter. Very small value. Down here, device, as we turn this is what actually lets the liquid out. Flat, perpendicular is off. When it's parallel, it's on. When you go partway there, you're going to have different levels. Okay, so with this, I'm going to go through and we're going to look at how this device. Okay, on that liquid, what you're going to see, it's in the burette. And as we look at the burette, you're going to notice something strange. If you look, I told you these were numbers. And these numbers, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, so on and so forth, as you go down, the numbers increase. Okay, that's kind of an important thing because in your burette, we want to be able to know how much substance we're actually adding or dispensing. So each one of these is a mil. We've got 10 spots between them. So if I were to go down a little bit, right now, there'd be 22. If I look at where the bottom of this bubble is, and bubble's called meniscus, if I look where it's at, I'm going to see that it's actually 22.4. That's my starting point. So if it drops down here to 26, I know the difference between those is how much of the liquid I've added. Okay, that's the whole point of burette because we can actually get a very known amount volume that we're dispensing. Okay, so you just got to keep in mind the numbers increasing as we go down, so we got to find the difference between them. Okay, so what we have titration set up. In my burette, I've got it filled up to 10.4 milliliters going down. So I'm going to have the difference. It's going to tell me what I have. And down here, I've got my liquid. There's my acid. I know the molarity of the acid. It's 0.1. This, the sodium hydroxide, I don't know its molarity. So I'm going to go ahead. This is phenolphthalein. It's an acid-base indicator. And as you notice, in an acid, there's no color to it. Phenolphthalein turns pink in the presence of a base. So what I'm going to do is go through, and right now I know the volume and molarity of the acid, 0.1 molar HCl. I know the volume I have in here. And we go through, I've got this volume, I record the initial volume, and then I'm going to go ahead and let me zoom in just a wee bit. And start the process of titration. What that means is I'm actually going to start letting liquid in. You guys can kind of see the stream. Now, do you see where the stream hits? Do you see what it's doing? See the pink color? What that means is the phenolphthalein is finding the base, and that's why it's changing color. Then it finds the acid, and that changes it back. So going through, we're doing this. And we're just going to keep going. Ultimately, we're going to go drop by drop. And as the base and the acid get together, it's going to neutralize each other more and more. And we're looking for the point where it actually goes from being an acid to a base. Because at that point, we know we've reached neutralization. Neutralization is where there's no longer any acid. We've just got base. The point at which that happens is called the end point. The closer I get to the end point, the longer that pink color stays. We're just going to ignore that. Too bad I can't edit sound. So, looking at that, I thought it stayed a lot longer, didn't it? Okay. It's a deeper pink. Go through. It it's staying longer and longer each time. Now, at that point, you can see the pink, and it is fading just a little bit, not much. What that means is I've actually reached endpoint where they're neutralized. It's a little bit darker pink than I would normally accept, but that just means I've gone beyond acid, and now I'm becoming more and more base. Endpoint is where the two neutralize completely. And it'll be a faint pink as soon as you go a little bit beyond the base, beyond the acid, what's there. So that would be the endpoint. That's how you titrate. Now what I do is I go back and I figure out where I ended up at. I know where I started. The difference between this is how much I actually used, how much I dispensed into this. And from there, I can run the calculations that I'm going to show you in class. But that's the process of titration.